Sealed in the mission of every avatar who has descended into the force field of this planet is the quality of mercy, descending from God as a promise to the outer consciousness, who indeed is not worthy to receive the divine man-child. And yet, out of the justice of the law, the avatars have been sent, because the Holy Christ self of every man has deserved to be and to live in the presence of the descending fire from the heart of God, imprisoned in the cage of the consciousness of non-entity. That Holy Christ self has stood in the earth to receive those who have come to liberate the outer consciousness in mankind. Those of us who have stood through the ages dispensing the quality of mercy have watched as the clay vessel that could not contain the avatar has been shattered and broken, pulverized by the presence of the rock of the man-child. And so it has been. But in this day, and from this time forward, it has been decreed by the great karmic board that as the divine man-child descends, there shall be greater preparation made, greater receptivity by the vessel that must contain it, that must not be shattered. For we are at the cusp of an age, beloved ones, and only by the mercy of God is the regeneration of man able to come forth now at this hour through the manifestation of the Christ, to receive and to take it to the point of the pinnacle of praise, the summit of each one's identity. And therefore no more shall there be the slaughter of the holy innocents, the destruction of the light from heaven. On the contrary, the descending light shall shatter the earth. And where the earth is not prepared to receive him, it will have to move over. And the elementals have sworn upon the altar of Almighty God this day that they would see to it that the proper preparation of the earth itself should come forth for the descent of the light of the Holy Spirit. In this divine activity of this age, it must be remembered that there is a cosmic timetable which must be met. And when the outer consciousness of mankind is not prepared to move forward with this timetable, then it must be set aside, and the light from heaven must set aglow the entire globe of mankind's consciousness. It has been prophesied that in those days mankind would faint for the fear that would come upon them. Fear is indeed the mark of one who is not prepared to receive the love of God. Beloved ones, fear hath torment, whereas love is the fulfilling of the law. And the law is tempered to mankind by the quality of mercy that is never strained except by the human consciousness itself, who refuses even to drink the draught of divine mercy. Or else, when it has taken that mercy, it uses it as license to continue in the old ways. Nevertheless, if it were not for the presence of the quality of mercy on earth, the very bones of mankind would crack by the weight of the oppressing karma of his own creation. The cohesive power of divine love, that is the core of divine mercy, beloved ones, is that essence of God which has held the earth intact, which has kept this blessed planet in its track around the mighty central sun of being, which has kept the tiny electrons in their traverse across the miles around the core of the fiery atom that is the heart of God. And so even in the time of earth's travail, you see, when justice must call the mark, the quality of mercy cradles the new infant, the child that has not yet matured, and yet the child that has been given the opportunity to mature. In our temple at Peking, the brothers and sisters of mercy who serve with me often wonder at the mighty power of God that is dispensed through the quality of love as it goes into mankind's force field and yet is unnoticed, unreceived. They wonder, and in their deliberations, in the deliberations of our councils, they have often asked me and directed to the karmic board as to how the quality of mercy, with all of its blessed essence of the triune being of God, could be so unnoticed among the hordes of China and those who would take over the planet by force. To those angelic hosts of light who hold the immaculate concept for the planet Earth, it is often difficult for them to understand how mankind who actually live in the presence of the arms of God can ignore the feeling of His love, even as they do decry and defame His very name, taking it in vain and blaming the Creator for that which they have done. As a result of these deliberations, as a result of the councils of the great karmic board, there have come about several decisions in this year of commitment which I would like to make known to you this day. One is in the application of the quality of mercy to mankind. It has been decided that although the quality of mercy shall be dispensed this year, for without it mankind could not survive, that in its very application to the evolutions of this planet, it shall bring about, by the very nature of the core of the fire of mercy itself, greater reckoning of mankind's karma. For it has been considered that the greatest mercy to mankind is the hastening of that day when they can come to the place where they can accept the reality of God. And therefore the quality of mercy itself shall serve to amplify the return of mankind's karma, rather than to stay the hand of that karma. You recall that upon the building of the Tower of Babel, there was the confusion, the confounding of tongues. You recall that it has been told to you that this was an act of charity that would hasten the day whereby the mighty should be brought low and the pride of men set aside. And so in their confusion, each one went in a different direction. And so they had to begin anew the founding of civilization from the very beginning. And so you see, as mercy descends from the heart of God, it is not always to give mankind license or to postpone the day of reckoning. This point, then, should be understood by you who are in the vanguard of the teaching of the Masters. For you will see, as mercy serves as a catalyst to bring mankind to the feet of their Creator in this year of commitment, that there still may be a possibility that the dark cycle may not take place. The second consideration of the Lords of Karma has to do with the release of the quality of mercy into the force field of each individual life stream as it applies to individual rather than world karma. Individual karma is often tempered to mankind that they might move forward in service and later reap the fruits of a previous karma. As mankind hasten toward the day of reckoning, it must be understood that they will have to bear a greater burden of their own personal karma. And because this is a requirement of the law, by the very pressure of the incoming golden age itself, for mankind cannot enter that golden age with the quantity of personal karma that they each now have. It has been decided that with the increased step-up of personal karma that must be balanced from a day-to-day basis, a greater outpouring of the quality of mercy shall also be given to the individual consciousness, the individual monad striving to reach the mighty I Am presence. And so you will note in your own worlds, as more and more of the refuse of your own teeming creation from the past comes to the surface, quick and decisive action in the form of calls to the sacred fire, calls for the violet flame, must be taken so that this refuse and this effluvium may be rolled up in the scroll and burned, never more to be read even by the angels of record. Therefore, there is tremendous opportunity in this decision. It means a hastening of the balance of karma on an individual scale and on a world scale. And this is most important, for without the cleansing process of the violet fire and the mercy flame, the descent of the avatars and their mission of mercy cannot be completed upon this planet. The very pores of the earth are filled with the dirt of human creation. And therefore, the sponge that is filled, the sponge of the four lower bodies of the planet itself, as well as of individual man, cannot contain the light of God. And therefore, to what purpose would it serve to continue to send that light? None, beloved ones. Therefore, the third decision that was taken concerning the quality of mercy by the great karmic board was that the earth itself, in shaking off the dust and dirt of the centuries, should have to bear a greater amount of that cleansing, even as individual man would have to do so. You have been told to expect cataclysm and unfair weather conditions, and these too may be accelerated if individuals, as part of the mass consciousness, do not rise up and carry their own burdens. For if mankind, each one, in this stepped-up dispensation, could grasp and take hold of the divine essence of the violet fire, you see, there would not be the necessity for the shaking and quaking on a world scale in order to shatter the old matrices of imperfection. The quality of mercy, therefore, is being used to bridge the gap that mankind themselves should have already filled from the time of the coming of Jesus the Christ himself, when he came to show mankind how to be the manifestation of the individual Christ, deified, exemplified in manifestation. This bridge has not been met. There have not been enough pillars in the temple, and therefore, cresting the wave of the future, the mass sea of humanity do not provide the raw material of that crystal quality of the Christ which can bear the incoming weight of the burden of light itself. Mercy is the only means whereby this age can be saved, beloved ones, and together with the quality of divine illumination, there can be a mighty work accomplished in the 33 years which remain before the turn of the century. Indeed, beloved ones, the hour is short. But in your lifetime, you will see the salvation of God, if by the power of Fohat, the discipline of Serapis, and through the use of the expanded silver cord, you can hold the balance for the mankind of earth. Sometimes when we see the paltry manifestations of drama on radio, television, and in the cinema, we wonder how mankind can be fascinated by the same old plots when all around them the drama of the saving of an entire evolution, yea, many evolutions, of an entire planetary body is taking place. And this not only to be seen, but to be entered into, for all mankind can participate upon this stage, this drama of life. Indeed, it is exciting and thrilling to the hearts of the angelic host to see the victory of the light taking place among the children of mankind. But they sit, not knowing what is going on all around them, absorbed in the minutiae, the ever so tiny consciousness that can sit by the hour and see the same old stories told and retold, embodiment after embodiment. Awake, I say, awake to the entire planet. You know not that the hour is at hand, that the deliverer stands at the very portal of life. You come and go, scurrying as mice in the field, stealing from the granaries the morsel that is required to sustain an outer consciousness that is not even worthy to be associated with the divine focus of the man-child who lives within that house of clay. Beloved ones, you cannot conceive in your time-space consciousness how long we have stood with the evolutions of this planet, only to see them repeat over and over again the same mistakes, the same lust for power, the same defeats. And you would think that the very halter of the law would teach men. Is there something wrong with the education of that law upon this planet, that men have not come to the feet of their Creator? This is a question you might well ask, for even the hosts of heaven do a little introspection as to whether or not true justice is meet. But, beloved ones, when all is said and done, it is not the law of heaven that is at fault, but the hardness of men's hearts, the crustaceans of centuries that have become almost totally insensate to the outpicturing and manifestation of that law. Hardened sinners they have become, sturdy egos that are able to withstand the tide even of their own karma. And mankind have learned how to outsmart the law of karma in many ways, beloved ones. They have set up laws that have served completely to defeat the divine justice of heaven. The courts of the world often, instead of being instruments for the flow of mankind's karma and its return, have become instruments of setting aside that karma so that those who have committed crimes are excused. They are coddled in the name of psychiatry. In the name of insanity, they are set free. And the full weight of the burden, the weight of guilt, is taken from them, so much so that when they come around again to face that very situation, there is no restraining in their world of the reins of guilt or of their own karma, and they commit again and again the same atrocities, the same crimes. You would be appalled to see the records of those who have taken advantage of mankind over and over again. And environmental pressures, the race consciousness have convinced them that they are right. By various philosophies, that which has determined that the end justifies the means. That which has determined that man is not his brother's keeper, but that he must first take care of himself. And of course, it is very hard for mankind to realize that every jot and tittle, every thought and feeling is recorded by the angels of record. And in the society of the West, where competition and success are the earmarks, mankind do not cleave to the law, but they justify all gain in terms of the goal of pleasure and the satisfaction of the temporal longings of the outer consciousness. There is such a warped sense of values that the true values of the spirit are ignored as they descend. And although it is hard for angelic hosts who have never descended into the world of form to understand how the law can be so completely thwarted in its outpicturing, nevertheless it is true. And the key here lies in the concept of free will. For mankind have made their laws, and they live by them. And these are the only laws which apply to their beings. This is important for you to understand as you go out to serve as ministers of God, as teachers. For you will see that you must not waste your precious time upon those who have set up these barriers, these man-made laws against the deity himself. Rather go into the fields that are white to the harvest and preach to those who are as sheep with no defenses, who yearn in their hearts to see the Father's face, to know him and to do his will. These are ready, and there are millions such as these. For they have not waxed strong in the complexities of the intellect, and they have not built up these barriers against the divine mind. The only barriers which surround them are those of fear, self-pity, and the regret of not having done better. And therefore, when you approach these ones, remember the quality of mercy. For the heat of its fire can melt even the most dense recalcitrance, if it is held sustained. And remember, even a blowtorch in the world of form, when it is applied, must be held, sometimes seconds and sometimes minutes, before it can achieve the breaking down of substance. Beloved ones, there are many arts that must be learned by you ere you go forth to contact the world at large. The art of not giving up, the art of getting into the consciousness of men through the apertures that they have left open, where they are not on guard to refute the Word of God. You must be able to read the record as Jesus did. When you see approaching to you one who needs the law but knows it not, Jesus was able to help many an individual in this manner. For by reading the record, he could calculate by the infinite calculus of the Spirit the response mechanisms of that life stream. And thereby he was never caught off guard. And when he saw that the momentum was too much against the Christ, he disappeared out of their midst, and they could not find him, for he knew that this was the rocky soil, unsuitable for sowing the seeds of the Word. He did not waste his time, beloved ones, and you can take the example of the Christ. In 3 years, the ministry, the whole ministry of the divine alchemist was completed. And if you study step by step that mission from the changing of the water into the wine at the marriage feast at Cana, all the way to the resurrection of his own force field, you will see that each demonstration of divine healing, each preaching of the Word, was a victory in one or more facets of the teachings of the brothers at Luxor. And each time there was a manifestation of victory. That initiation was past, and Jesus went forward to the next. The feeding of the multitudes, the stilling of the waters, the healing of the lepers, each one a step on the ladder of attainment, each one necessary. And if there had been a failure at any hand, I can assure you that even the Christ himself would have had to go the full cycle, come round again, and begin again to attempt that same initiation. But he failed not. He passed every test. Therefore, consider in your own life the irreparability of breaking the chalice that contains just the right amount of the elixir of the sacred fire to give you the strength to pass the next test. If you break that chalice and lose the precious oil, it is difficult to say if you can summon within your own being the necessary qualifications to meet the oncoming tide that the law has decreed you should face in this day. Jesus said, "Sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof." He knew well whereof he spoke, for he knew that each day, with the dawning of the sun, there was another test to be faced. And he knew that that test was sufficient to his own preparation, and that he must garner the full strength of the spirit of the dawn to meet at any hour the subtleties of the tempter. You must do the same, beloved ones, and in doing the same for yourselves, you must extend the balm of mercy to your fellow men, for they too have tests that they must pass. And consider that you could be instrumental in causing thy brethren to shatter and break and lose the cruse of oil that is given to him from the hand of his holy Christ self. And then, of course, you realize that you have the karma of assisting him to gather more of the sacred fire, to bring it to the point where he can again face that test. For in causing him to spill over the cup of that elixir, you too have failed a test. The test to be thy brother's keeper. And so the sin of omission must be accounted for, it must be made up. But consider how great the love of the Father, that in the quality of mercy, more can be regained in a shorter time than through any other quality of the 7 rays. Therefore, those who keep the flame of mercy are assisting those who are running in the race, not at the head, but behind, helping them to catch up with the Christs who have gone before and are now ascended beings. For we are all in a race. The earth is in a race, and there is not a moment to spare. And that balm of divine mercy will give to you and to each one the assistance that is required at any hour of the day. When you feel the need of greater strength, of illumination, of greater purity and healing, remember that all of these qualities come to you from the heart of God by the power of the flame of mercy itself. For in forgiveness there comes renewed opportunity to fulfill the law. And without that forgiveness, little progress can be made. For without it, man must await the completion of new cycles before he can be given another dispensation of faith, of illumination, or of divine love. But with the quality of mercy, many cycles are set aside, and the soul finds that in this very day he can achieve his victory. Oh, the wonders of the quality of mercy. When they first descended upon my consciousness, I knew that this was my first love, that I must give myself to the divine quality of mercy, to God himself, as he would manifest to men in this flame. And so I stand and shall continue to stand in the flame of mercy, dispensing to all who call unto me that measure which is meted out, that is filled and brimming over, to all who will call, to all who will come, to all who will receive, to all who will retain, to all who will keep the flame of mercy in my name. Thank you.